County Chairwoman Lisa Cupid and Police Chief Dan Farrell gave an update about the death of 21-year-old Kyle Bassinga. Bassinga had been reported missing February 14th. Days later, his body was found hanging from a tree in Fair Oaks Park.
Having a lot of misinformation out there in the community is also creating to a great sense of unease.
Now, I want to start with offering condolences to the Bassinga family, and I want to make sure that we say that we're being respectful in this, because I recognize that people have a tendency to turn things into content over everything, and in doing so, they forget that these are real people who have real feelings and real emotions, and that this is a tragedy at the end of the day. So I want to make sure that I'm doing my due diligence, and also saying that I hope this young man is truthfully found peace wherever he may lie. So the reason that I continue to share stories like this is because I feel like these are important stories. There's stories that matter to me. I feel like there's stories that easily get glossed over because of the nature of this young man being a black man in the South, and it's so easily kind of written off or, made another internet story. So I want to start here with an article from BET that says a young black man was found hanging from a tree. Police say no foul play. It goes like this. Kyle Bassinga was reported missing on Sunday, February 15th. After days of searching, the 21-year-old was found hanging from a tree in Fair Oaks Park, Marietta, on February 18th. Despite local police sharing that there was no foul play and his death being ruled a suicide, the community wants answers. The disturbing way Bassinga was found sparked an outpouring of collective grief and anger by the community, as many residents and those online reflected on the country's painful past. I'm going to leave it there and start with my first initial point, and this is something that we brought up with a previous case that involved the young man that was found on a Mississippi campus, Demar Travion, also known as Trey Reed, who had been found on Delta State campus hanging from a tree near the pickleball courts. And right after investigators arrived on that scene, they declared that this was a suicide. I said it's strange, one, how quickly individuals are, local law enforcement, especially in the South, are to arrive on a scene where you find a young black man hanging from a tree and you declare it a suicide. And it's not just hangings that law enforcement are quick to relegate to suicides when it comes to black men.
Kendrick Johnson was found dead at Lowndes County High School back in 2013. Law enforcement ruled his death was an accident twice, but a civil rights lawsuit by the family hoped to prove there was more to the story.
Still goes unsolved. But again, that was another example of law enforcement being very quick when it comes to black death to write it off as a suicide. We got the other case, right, where the young woman went to a party with a group of white women, her friends, people she trusted. All of the white women managed to wake up the next morning. The black woman was dead, relegated to a suicide. So there's a history of law enforcement arriving to cases, scenes that involve black faces, and going suicide. And understandably, the black community goes bullshit. We know the history of this country and lynching. We understand that we have a bloody, disgusting history that currently is trying to be rewritten as it wasn't that bad or the real victims were white people. But the history remains the same. Black men and women for a long period of time were preyed upon by white mobs and hung from trees. We've got songs about this disgusting phenomenon.
Black bodies swinging in the southern breeze, strange fruit hanging.
I want to be very careful here in saying that the family has already come out and say, look, we understand that there are online conspiracy theorists, there are online people who are reacting with their beliefs of what's occurring. Right now, we're going to let the investigation play out. We're going to do what's being asked of us from law enforcement to try and basically get the answers needed. And then also, they're also in the current act of mourning, paying their respects to the loss of life. So I want to be respectful to that side of things, and also recognize that, mental health is an undertreated phenomena in all communities. And so a young man could be suffering from something that we all just, don't understand, that the family could have missed, and he could have chosen to take his life, and maybe this was the method that he chose to do so. But there is always hesitation, rightfully so, I think, when people see this, especially when you think about what it would take to pull something like this off, right? You would have to wander away from your family with a backpack or something to carry the rope. You would have to pick a spot in advance, right, to walk to in hopes that nobody sees you. Then you would have to climb up on the tree. Again, this is a public walking trail where individuals, I'm assuming, I think in one article I read that it was a popular public walking trail, right? Like the very next day he was found by somebody. So clearly this is an active trail, but you would have to climb up on that tree at some point, attach a rope, and then hang yourself from it, all without being caught, seen, or heard doing so. And that gives a majority of people, I think, pause. After Bassinga was reported missing, a video surfaced online of a distressing encounter he had with police. In the video, which appears to have been posted on Bassinga's social media account,
because this is low-key illegal what you just did. You just checked me for no reason. Well, what was your reason for getting my ID?
You said you were a student, so I asked your parents.
No. What was your initial reason?
Policy?
Because you see my hoodie. I have a Georgia State hoodie on, bro.
Right, and what I asked?
What I'm saying? What was your reason?
Hold on now.
What was your reasoning?
What did I ask?
he is filming a police officer and asking him why he was made to give over his identification. He also says that he believes the officer is acting illegally by asking for his identification without giving him a reason. For many, the death of Kyle Bassinga cannot be viewed in isolation from the long and brutal history of lynching in America. Civil rights organizations have documented thousands of such killings in the 19th and 20th centuries, noting that these acts of terror were used to enforce racial hierarchies and social control. While some believe this practice ended decades ago, I think around the 1980s is where they say the last official lynching occurred, but we're going to get into that. Activists argue that it has evolved into modern-day lynchings that authorities often categorize as suicides. The last recorded lynching in the United States was 1981, said Jill Colin Jefferson, a lawyer and founder of civil rights organization Reelin. Since 2017, Jefferson has been compiling records of black people found hanging across the country. All I can do is say what I feel, and what I feel is anytime you present to me a black man found hanging in a tree, you are going to be hard-pressed to convince me that it was a natural cause, especially if the investigation only takes a couple of hours, especially if you're telling me immediately after getting to the scene, your thoughts are this was a suicide. It's just hard for me to swallow that particular type of pill. Not to say that it doesn't happen, but knowing our country, knowing the current climate, knowing the people that are operating, hearing about the groups that are in operation, especially in rural areas, especially in the South, it's a difficult hill for me to believe. Julian's Crimson Record offers an in-depth analysis of modern-day lynchings from 2000 to 2025, challenging reports that the last lynching in the U.S. took place in 1981. Said Julian founder Jill Colin Jefferson, a Crimson Record exposes the long-buried truth about modern-day lynchings, calling these crimes exactly what they are despite systemic attempts to erase and deny them. Lynching has never disappeared. It has adapted, hidden behind silence and indifference. The study notes that lynching is one of the hardest hate crimes to prove and is often ruled as a suicide initially, a pattern many of us observed in reports about Reed, the 25-year-old whose body was found hanging from a tree at Delta State University in Mississippi. The study defines a modern-day lynching as a multiple perpetrator homicide targeting a group or individual driven by race, gender identity, or other bias with the intent of causing community terror or carrying out an extrajudicial homicide for a perceived threat or wrongdoing. Over the last 25 years, the study identified over 70 modern-day lynchings across the 7 states: Texas, Mississippi, Georgia, Louisiana, Florida, Tennessee, Alabama, with Mississippi reporting the highest number at 20. That's it, y'all. Let me know your all's thoughts. I am sure you join me in saying condolences to this young man and that we hope that he's resting in peace. Also, protect yourselves. Please, please, please protect yourselves. Protect your family members. Don't be going out to these rural southern areas especially, or northern areas. Really just don't be out in these areas, remote areas by your damn self, or without letting people know, where you're going to be, and find ways to keep something to protect yourself. I was yours, JLW. I'll holler at you all later.